Are there any nominations from the floor to serve as an officer of the HOA? My second call.
Although I can
Up in the Zoom participants. My third call. And if you're on Zoom and you want to be an officer or director, would you let us know now? If not, would you consider the officers and directors that served you last year to serve you again? And there are only two of us that can make a motion, and I will make that motion if Mike will second it. I'll second it. And discussion, I would like to say I'd like to change it somewhat in that I'm President, Chris is Vice President, Debbie Secretary, Mike I recommend to be Treasurer, and Sheila Director at Large. Before we vote, though, perhaps I should back up and ask Debbie if we have a quorum, Mike. Under our discussion, we probably should have this discussion. Vic, is Debbie on?
Talk to the average, she got, please, on mute.
Debbie, are you?
Yes, I'm here.
Will you go over?
Sorry, Levick, I can't hear you very well.
Tell you. No. Yeah.
Sorry, Levick, the audio is awful for me. I can't hear it. So you'll have to carry on.
Can you hear me, Levick?
Now, determine that we have a quorum, and we determine that the officers and directors are set for next year. Let's look back at some of the highlights of this past year. And we had officers in line to represent you last year. But Steve Sidman was the president.
Love it.
Steve, when you said yes.
I can hardly understand them.
I know. It's like, that's why I was at worst.
I think I might have lost them already.
Oh.
You had a board that has some, not just some background, they got substantial background in different parts of business. 1 year ago, after we filled the board, we also learned that we had got a bill for an FBA for $1,800,000 now it's at 1.875736. For somebody from the stuff, I don't know why. They chose not to pursue it. They said they were having difficulty with communicating. I grabbed it. And I worked it. And some of the other guys worked with me on it. And we got the loan reinstated. $1,830,000, 1.875%. Payment though will be based on 29 years because the first year the funds are being dispersed. As the funds are used to repair roofs.
Yes.
You see how many roofs are repaired right now? There are about 10, I think, that have been they removed the tile, and we have. You would rather use that? No, just give it. We have under metal roof and way. Well, that is one of them. We also negotiated this year an insurance policy. And the agent said, if you want this far wrong and is repair, it would cost you $50,000 to $200,000 more in premium. Yeah. Let me tell you later what that premium is. It's not a matter of going to an agent and negotiating. They go into the marketplace and they get a response from the market based on the hurricane damage and the fact that you already have a claim that's outstanding. Somebody has a phone, you want to turn it off or you want to take care of it? We also inherited some things like being capillary. Being capillary, we tried to terminate his employment. Only the 400 when we chose to go with Merlin Law Group on a pro bono basis, we couldn't just terminate him. There was a little clause in this contract. What was it called, Mike? I can't get out of it. Supervisor, look at my home. The postal insurance fee, about $90,000 for unit 2614, 2616. We had red roofing. Take it to the point of putting the tile on. And if you recall, back in July of 23, you could not buy a tile. You could not replace the tile you had. The city wanted you to take the tile off, and they wanted you to recycle it. Would you like to recycle the tile and put it back on your roof? Would you like to pour it? Would you like to clean it? And all those things didn't seem to make any sense to us, more especially to the city. So that's no longer a item. We also, as most of you know, reached a point of the type of roof we wanted and the color. And like George, we had to go through our evidence committee. And I think the chairman is here tonight. Yeah. It was your birthday.
Right. Mike pulled me out of the shower.
You should show. Why did you write this out? And then she came running down to also confirm that we had indeed chosen the color and the metal strip. Thanks, Bill.
Well, and we did a good job because they look magnificent.
I hope.
So for all the naysayers who said that was not the right color, shame on them.
And for those who remember that. We appreciate it. Committee, we appreciate it. We also had an item with the landscaping, Crawford Landscaping. And some of you said, why do you replace Crawford Landscaping? And I'll give you that back. I didn't like their prices. We had an instance where there was a patch of grass that needed to be replaced, sod. And it probably was only like 10 or 12 square feet. And I asked Crawford to give us a price, $1,605. I said, whoa, I'm gonna go to a local market. And at the same time, one of our residents had a carusa bush that blew out of the hedge during a rainstorm and was laying in the lawn. Crawford was blowing around it, leaving it laying there. So the owner said, could you please get that straightened up for me? I had another individual that had a hibiscus tree down, blown down probably in the same floor. So I called Yates Landscaping. And Yates says, I will sod that, I'll straighten up his bush, and I'll straighten up the hibiscus for $455.84. Compared to $1,605, do we need to talk about Crawford? Or that was not the only instance where I matched numbers and they were not in Crawford's favor. Like I have reached the end of mine. All right, notes. And I'd like you to be the new treasurer. Michael Steigerwald.
Thanks, Levy. So the last time we had a meeting, one of our slides, and I only have 4 or 5 slides to go through it, and they're pretty simplistic, I think. You know, there's a couple key questions people are looking to get answered today, but we'll see if we get them answered. So this first slide is kind of a takeoff on that first slide, kind of an update of kind of where we are, and you know, some of these line items you all have seen already in one form or another. As you might remember, we hired Merlin hired a structural engineer to do an assessment of all of our roofs. And the objective was to provide some support for Merlin as they do battle with our insurance company. And I do have a little slide coming up that will get into a little more detail with that. The next step was after the structural engineer issued his report to Merlin, it was a matter of them having the information that was for in conjunction with the board, making a decision that there was really a reason, a rationale for us to continue and actually go with Merlin and do battle with the insurance company. So the next step then after we had that decision was, okay, let's get this project rolling. And we ended up coming up with 5 roofing contractors. And at that point in time, it was before we had a true decision by the residents on what material wanted to be used for the roofs. Initially, as you all remember, when we did get the insurance proceeds, the thought was we were going to go with tile. In fact, when they started ripping off the tiles, the underlayment that they put down was actually underlayment for roofing. We're going to have to deal with that at some point in time, not a big deal. So we handled the 5 roofing contractors for both metal and for tile replacement. And you know, as we got those quotes, and I think we relayed this information to everybody at some point in time, the average price for the tiles was anywhere between $61,000 and $65,000 per roof. Metal at that point in time was almost $10,000 more. Okay, so there was a pretty significant price difference. Subsequent to getting those quotes and the board doing some analysis on the contractors, you know, checking their references and doing some due diligence and trying to really scrutinize the contracts to make sure that we were apples to apples. We decided to roll metal. So we selected 2 of the 5, and we continued to dig into them to make sure that they were worthy of you know, doing the roof for us. So that's $2 million roughly. And we had actually selected one of the two that we ended up not going with because we ran into some issues as we got further into the our due diligence. So we actually had to kind of switch our horses there a little bit midstream. As we started to negotiate, I give Chris credit. He was our chief negotiator. He was able to substantially get better prices for us on metal, to the point where it's cheaper than the prices that we were getting for tile. So, I mean, we were real happy. Kudos to Chris. He was like a junkyard dog. He just was relentless on going after this guy. So I'll share with some numbers a little bit further on. And we signed a contract, quoted 10 buildings. I think there's actually 12 buildings that have the tiles removed. Kind of 8, 9 buildings maybe are underway. Some just have valley metal on them so far. So they're kind of not, they're started, but they're really not to the same level of completion that some of the others are. And originally, our contractor, Hightower Industries, put together a detailed project plan. It's a very plan. It's a 10-week project plan. I'd say that even though we've been lucky with the weather, I'd say that they're maybe a little bit behind schedule. Levick and I met with the SBA administrator this morning, and we kind of told her we're probably looking at a 12 project plan at this today. Again, contingent on the weather, but we'll see what happens. Okay.
Excuse me, like 12 weeks to finish,
Yeah,
12:35.
that's right. 34. It's a good point. So we got money from the insurance company, as Levick indicated. We've approached Hightower to give us a price to finish what Rand started. And the rationale behind that was we didn't want Rand to finish because there could have been some differences in the materials from what Rand provided to what we had negotiated with Hightower. Even though everybody has, the same color names, they don't necessarily match up. So that was kind of our logic behind that. We'll see how that plays out. I hate to do it, but
So what happens with the permit? Because the permit was filed for Rams Roofing to do that roof. So what will happen? Will you have to permit that?
good question. I don't have an answer to that.
I do.
They go.
It's happened right now, for 26 working today, and the copy of the and also the notice of commencement. They would ignore it. The contract has been dismissed. They're only saying permit.
Okay.
No notice of commencement. The executed by that's how. Thanks. So this is that's that. Yeah, all right. Well, it's out, saved on our website, but just to refresh people's memories, Pamlico had the greatest damage, I guess you could say, and his recommendation at that point in time that all 8 roofs should be replaced. On a ruler, he suggested or reported that 4 could be completely replaced, and 20 others should be repaired, with the caveat that to repair it properly, the underlayment had to be replaced. So technically, it's we're gonna fix it. But I think it was a psychological thing on his point, just to all right, we're not going to face all whatever.
They were supposed to take the old.
No, their thing was redesign.
Can't, to repair the underlayment, you have to take all this.
That's right.
So then what tile do you put back on?
Put new stuff on.
Right.
Yeah. Financially, just.
Right.
That's the response that we were trying to get. And then there was basically on their findings, only 2 that really had immaterial damages. If we would have went with tile, we wouldn't have to do anything. Those if we chose to do that. Okay. And then the contract, as I mentioned, with Hightower was $1.956 million. for 34 roofs. It comes out to roughly $57,500. Okay. Good news, I think, right? We show them about that, because if you're kicking around on this $5,000 for a long, long time, as the number that's the ethic, okay.
Is that a roof or a building?
I'm sorry, Billy.
Thank you.
You called me on that the last time, too. Yeah. Please. For 34, it's all roof, in my opinion, right? As they started to tear off the tiles, and they started to put the underlayment down on the very first building, there was significant truss damage that was underneath. And because of the truss damage, and when I say truss damage, it was bowing. The trusses had bows in it. So when they went to put the underlayment and the metal tiles on there, there was a very noticeable wave in the roof. Like you said, there was a 2-inch difference in some spots. So we were forced to tear off the old plywood, and using some more 2x4s, 2x6s to able to apply to the trusses, straighten the trusses out. We had to reapply new plywood, underlayment, and then apply the metal. So it cost us roughly $18,000.
So I have a question, because that's not an Ian thing, that's a Taylor Mars. Right?
You could make that assumption.
I can make that sometimes. I've worked for a builder for 18 years.
Sure. I'm not going to disagree.
Right. Okay, but there's nothing we see.
So keep our fingers crossed. Now, we haven't seen that same type of situation yet with any of the other roofs that we've torn off. We're hoping it's an anomaly. We don't know. Certainly, you'll see with the funds that we have available, we can't cover another $20,000 per building if we have to.
That was probably the last house building.
That was last house building.
So it's interesting that it's not interesting.
He's also the one that said he didn't have much damage. He just saw it.
God saved him because we already had damage now. But it's not unusual, because they rushed and they.
Well, we're hoping that's what the issue was.
Yes.
Somebody mentioned that they might have been using leftover product. I wasn't here. I don't know. That could be just rumor. I don't pass it. It's truth that I've heard that stated. And if you remember, the initial presentation that we made last time is we were thinking that we were going to have to pay roughly $2.2 million to replace the roofs. Obviously, at this point, we're below the $2 million mark. In the contracts, we built in a certain number of repairs for replacement of plywood, for example. Some of the soffit and fascia boards are included. And there's clauses in there. I know people have been concerned about damage to their gutters and downspouts. They're on the hook for that.
No, are they?
And they just pop into the. Hey, Connor. Connor, welcome up. Hi. What you have to see here? You want to keep going, or you want to? What do you want to do?
If you want, we could let Connor call it now, because he's also did that, that's the whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well,
They don't just go to the other city, Connor, I know, he was the general contractor for Woofers. And he had been spending some time on some individual working over the woods and some ideas out on the field, answering questions. And he's the president of the company. He's yet not so president of the then it's time to do a walk around or do a thing. And moving is out. Also, that's from that hour. He had about 5 years looking at living.
He's 8 weeks old.
There you go. So let's not think of it. So. Fire. Wait, come to back down.
For the garage,
It's over the garage.
not gonna look like.
They're not gonna let that when I'm done. So I didn't want to bring it because I don't get what you can. Or
But, computer could not hear them, because if they could hear you with that mic. So don't sharp work.
Alright, but does anybody have any questions? So that's one thing I want to raise. Cause it's like, that, really large. It's just what the workers have here. I've seen those guys, they rip the roofs off, they're carrying 10 tiles. And it's also, I saw one gentleman, carrying a wheelbarrow up a ladder. Wow, picture that. And you can see, how many, wow. It's just, but this makes you go to it. I want to name for any question or get around all the things like names and stuff. I mean, if I ain't never seen it, or it's stuff. Good. Which one that is?
No, sorry, I was down walking the dog at night, I just try to pick up what I see, so none of us get flat, so.
Okay.
Honestly, it's, you know, if I know, a neighbor can't get to check their driveway, I'll check their driveway and stuff, but.
We went up by side, there are 3 homes there that basically have the same peaks that we have.
Mhm.
And I don't know, has anybody told you maybe to go look at those peaks to see how they did the metal? It's pretty phenomenal.
And Michelle and I went on Vario. And Malaysia, and they're all done beautiful.
So, that, and I look at those. Oh, the trying to die. I think of. So, y'all like you did to the but house. How that's are. And how it's all. And what? What's something? So, and friend house, we're just waiting right. You have a so there's little things I have still work. There's only laying on the sauce goes. You took things I was like, I was really told because so now the Russian teeth because it's not anymore. So here's why. Just comment. What you think it's comments there the others. So it's not just it's not like a normal root out, just you come down to the end of the case, you know. Anybody can really do it. It's just a little bit talk to you real nice quick. That's it. Fine. Tight. So excuse me, still what's out what that's because you should understand you should love it. So what? Yeah, I couldn't think of look at yeah. Yeah, future real.
Can I ask you about the fence on the wall? Where it's happening, the fence that you replaced, I believe, like for the dryer, does that have a screen in it, or does it not have a screen?
I have to look at them, probably, they might just be regular 4-inch, gooseneck, but how they have that.
Well, there's one screen, but I know that the built are foot screens, and I usually don't have it fall.
Start with factors, sure. Just want to talk about the staging area and why we were doing that, or why you had that set up.
So we don't have all y'all's driveways blocked with medicine in y'all's front driveways. So we set that because you can we strong water. So and all that other side.
Right. I might have. But, trying to communicate with as many people as quickly as he can when he finds out the schedule is. So, yeah, you missed it. Everybody likes to go. Yeah. So, the first two owners you were vessel, the guy is a battery operated equipment. We've got one in the time on the side, unplugging, and plug it in. Machine to recharge the battery. Yes, I did. One on the other sideways. Instead of running this. The solution. The extension going from somebody's house to the out to the front door. They're 26, 36 and well. They're really friendly. So she's witnessing more that will like to plug in an extended group. And we're a problem and we get what to be silent machines.
So what happened to say just plugged in the second one? Yeah. So I got a house with door and one push to shop in the bedroom.
Seriously.
So 5 years. All right. Okay. And back of the 3-window bedrooms, there's plugs there.
Okay.
And there are plugs inside right outside the door. The right there's a lot of places. There's a 12 of those.
They were a long one. It's really my son. So. Good.
Party always.
That was better bad news.
So where did play by?
Where did you tell you? That's sensitive. That's either how. That's And something kind of weekend, doing people reading the insurance plans, and we would go all the way through the commercials and stuff. And what insurance is actually living with anytime insurance, anytime rather than anything. Pretty much a really good shows. I think there's now a test. Her brother's 15 years old. He's got some attention about 15 years. And you can say, well, this is a kind of so, sir, just we have somebody tell them they check all the you think that we suspect this is sealed and stuff and checking them for California. It's a previous patient here. Okay. Felt it's worth a shot that you're looking at the we found out you get to one. Why is it in the summer? Do other folks now? That's how the judge now insurance supporters well, it's really coming up. So on. And he says, being ready. It's first. So, anyway, well, if that is something up there, Greece can be a little here, that's a social. You make PSI, so if you calculate that, whatever 200 miles an hour, it's what a panel range is. The PSI 2 hours. With everything's around 175, negative 175 PSI. Which is not for sure. Great, thanks. Appreciate it. You guys are doing a good job. Well, yeah. All right. You want to say what? You want to say what? Upgrading $3 million. We just meet with the SC administrator. Looking the funds that we are going to need for legal roofs, and they're in the process of processing the paperwork and then our field products, and I believe that we should get up to it. So we're expecting the 200 opportunity estimated. Obviously, we have assessment that we need to cover the payments, but I think you mentioned this before, $1.3 million, that's roughly $95 a month. That comes out to, it was originally $1,100, I think, roughly in change. What we've decided is we don't know what the final number is, but we're just to keep it easy for everybody, it's $300. $400. And we, as Leonard also mentioned, that we have kind of a weird leeway here, but the payments will start, next year, but we'd like to start assessing people in the first quarter of this year, so we have a price up front, so we're now just chasing funds for whatever might happen. We're not flush with cash, right? We talked about that before, we're not flush with cash. But obviously, if we're not able to, if we run into additional problems, that we would need additional monies, we'll have to have another discussion about where those monies come from. Yeah,
This is a good start to build a reserve for replacement, or that's not in the big figures yet.
In our 24 budget, there was, I believe, $48,000 of reserve, fund reflection. Not a lot of money.
No, we need to look at it, but we don't want to go short again.
So, a while ago, we had, somebody who was studying for us, I can't remember what they called the study, that, lays out what your payment should be to get you to the point where, you're gonna need to replace your roofs. I would suggest that at some point when we're done with the roofs, we have that study done. And, we'll share with people, but, it's not cheap. I mean, you're gonna rebuild, up to $2 or $3 million worth of funds over the next 25, 30 years. And the schedule I originally saw on the report, the appraisal report, was it started off kind of small, but the yearly amounts just grew pretty substantially. So it was a graduated scale on the last one. I would imagine we could do something like that going forward.
Kicking the can down the road, though.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So when Mike took over on the board, the previous board, I don't want to criticize the previous board, but they were not keeping up with the recommended schedule. I just say that there could have been 1,000 reasons. I don't know. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I'm just reporting they were not keeping up with the schedule.
We're starting with the clean sheet now, so we should sort of,
Well,
it's good laid out.
I'm right with you. It's nothing's free though, right? I mean,
It's not free to live here.
yeah, I'm punching into the house.
Will our insurance go down because we're going to metal, and will we see some break in that in our quarterlies?
So I think Levitt kind of addressed the fact that if we would be replacing the roofs, the insurance costs would potentially be anywhere between $50,000 to $200,000 more. Our intent is to wait until our roofs are done and start shopping the insurance policy with other carriers. We're kind of restricted in staying with Coastal because of our claim. So we're kind of playing up a little bit. So yeah, we're just trying to out.
So are we gonna be assessed again for the insurance?
Assessed for the insurance. So included,
Because the insurance,
so our insurance policy expired on May 2nd. So we just signed a new insurance contract, and the contract amount is $166,000. In our budget, we included roughly $156,000. So it's in the budget. It's factored in already. I don't think we're going to talk about an additional assessment of $100,000 to cover it. Again, our intent is as we get the roofs done, we shop for a policy, maybe we get that down. Okay. You can see what the numbers were last year, $149,000. And again, the thing that I have a little footnote there. Because we don't have enough money to pay for the insurance policy up front, we're actually financing the payment of the insurance policy. Similar to what we did last year. So no change in that, other than the interest rate that they're charging us went up drastically. So the numbers that I'm showing here right now for actual, $166,000, that does not include the finance cost of about $5,000 for them to finance our insurance contract. So I mean, certainly we would like to build up some funds so we could avoid paying finance costs.
Mike,
Yeah.
any status on our claim? Have we heard anything from the law firm? Any action on that?
So, they sent out another set of structural engineers. I think folks probably saw them. You saw their Texas license plates, and we're wondering who the heck they were. Apparently, we don't have any good structural engineers in Florida. They had to bring them in from Texas. But they were from the insurance company. So the battle goes on. We hired our engineer. They had an engineer beginning. Now they have another set of engineers. The last I heard from our lawyers they were waiting for the engineers to produce a report to go to the insurance carrier so that the discussions can continue. We have not gotten another offer at all yet. Right, Lenny? Right. So there was a new, proof of loss submitted. Dean, with the guidance of Merlin, submitted a new proof of loss with some updated information, but the dollar amounts really didn't change that much. Fine tuning, some of the narrative that was in these documents. So he's doing some work for us.
Well, that's a change.
So we try to get our money for out of this guy somehow, but it's tough. So we try to have phone conferences with Merlin every couple of weeks to get updates and try to keep pressure on him. It's a slow go.
What's the rationale loss?
Over reason knowledge, I believe.
That's it.
That was after the deductible.
Oh, after the deductible.
Yeah.
$9 after the deductible. All right,
That's all I got. Any other questions? Larry,
There's something interesting about the small business learning in the recent agreement. There's no deductible involved in it. The only funds that we can raise to borrow and to use to improve your roofs, to replace them. The $1,930,000 will be a little short of the $1,906,000 that Mike was talking about. So we may come back to you and say, we haven't settled with the insurance company yet. We don't have any funds coming in. We may need to borrow $160,000, which would take on up to $2 million. If that were the case, you might have a quarterly payment of $325. And then you don't have to pay U.S. postage stamps for 30 months of the year. Anybody have any other questions or comments? I know that Sharon?
My advice, I was out walking the other night and I was over at Renee's house and we were picking up little shards of metal. Which flies off the roof and you can barely see them. Some of them are really, really tiny. I would suggest when they come to your homes and they're working on your roof, just go out at the end of the day and sweep off it. If you can get into the road, on your driveway, sidewalks, because they're there. And that's not nails, this is pieces of metal.
Be careful when you're big enough. You need somebody to help. St. Robert's News will have her jobs down there. Switch it picks up a little charge and nails it, but you don't see.
Well, people are getting stuck, the weavers.
Or they're not so sure that they don't have. All these customers, so.
It's about on out thing, am I right? Just without a stop and she got it out. She don't get the dog.
I think it was, we're gonna go on some track.
Well, you don't want your dogs getting, their paws getting cut.
Well, there might be a story of a dog getting one of the bones, a chicken bone or something. That's not for the media.
That's our dog.
Was it trash?
Yours here, since we moved in.
I mean, if the guy, lunch and toss it in the bushes.
Because they throw them out.
People are running straight on your.
Used to be their answer.
Any other comments? Thank you all for coming here. I have a question, Larry. Question is, what are other fees that we're gonna be charged? We know that we're gonna have a $300 until further notice. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, starting next year, maybe January, or the last quarter to build up a reserve. Then what? The lawyer fees?
We were over that, but and you and Chris come up with a, and I'm not dropping it all over you, we just gotta have discussion about what it will take to sustain us through the year. What advance plus mortgage payments. And it's called assessments. The SBA assessment. Good question, I don't have the answer. So we're at, we'll pay 1,600 a quarter plus the 300, and you'll be at 19. Is that kind of, sort of? Then we'll have some other things.
I'm not sure what other things that, we're not aware of things, and we have a lawsuit that's ongoing. And obviously, if there's proceeds as a result of the lawsuit, obviously Dean will get his share, and the Warners will take their share, and we'll get some money. We're hoping that we get some money. The intent would be, if we get enough money, we're going to be able to repay the SBA. And it will be able to reduce our quarterly payments. That's the dream. You know, whether or not that will happen, who knows? I think if I remember some of the scenarios I did the last time, even if we get monies for all 34 roofs, it's not enough money to get rid of the SBA loan. So there is going to be an SBA loan amount out there. It just depends on how much insurance settlement, if and when we get some. But I don't think the only additional item that I just heard from Connor was ongoing maintenance. If you want somebody to kind of check the caulking around the vents, you know, obviously we don't have any money built into a budget for that. I have no idea what that would be.
So much for the villas scam when we go up that our roofs would be taken care of. Right?
Right.
Huh?
Say that again?
I said so much for the villas scam when we bought our houses, that our roofs would be taken.
You were actually paying for our roofs.
Right.
And insurance.
So, wow.
Yeah, you.
Science there, so I don't.
Yeah, oh,
This is additional.
but that's,
So that's because there was never enough, just that's what to put in there.
I have a question. Let's say the attorney never get us any money.
Okay.
Are we still having to pay them?
No,
We don't have to pay them a nickel.
correct.
Dean also,
No, we have to shoot
But whether it's, he gets 10% of any proceeds.
Is that what it was on for, but we didn't thing,
Yes, no.
and he won't negotiate that 10%.
Well, the city's the same. But
Question is how. So it's money laundering, they have to produce or they don't get paid.
Well, that's good.
And when they come to us with an offer, we don't have to accept it.
So I think that was part of the no-go decision was when they looked at the information, they decided that they were willing to fund the money to us. I mean, they paid for the structural engineer we had. It was $70,000.
So why did we pay so they pay us some money?
They paid that up front. We spent their money to do something like that.
So obviously they think there's something.
Yeah. Yes.
We don't know what they think is there, but you're right.
Yeah,
I
hey,
think that, oh, they've got skin in the game. That's right. Questions or comments? I don't know that we answered your, I think in time, we will have the question was not to pinpoint at this time,
Yeah, okay.
but just to plant the seed
Yeah.
that there's gonna be more probably, maybe.
And we'll have that stuff inside the insurance element of the way.
So I have a question.
What's the barrier?
You have a question. So what about at the front of my house? How is that gonna be in this whole just a thing where it's gonna have to be recalled and painted and since I've got holes from the tiles that hit my house. It's the only one. There's several homes that have been hit from the storm.
Yeah, that's what it's. It's over there, so, that's replacing the roofs. Now, during his tearing the tile off, there have been some screens for him,
I'm one.
and they haven't even been. That's a conversation we'll have with him.
Well, I understand that. I'm just talking about from Ian, the front of my house, there's still damage. There's damage to get to the front of my house. It has to be taken care of and repainted.
So we haven't done that, and he's part of the insurance fund.
Okay, that's all they're asking. I wanted to insurance.
Insurance is on. Very small. But I have a lot of little friends coming to that when you pull down my storm shelter, they come down with it. Because they're getting into the mechanism. So who's gonna fix that soffit? That was for me.
We're hoping the insurance proceeds will give us money.
Does anybody have a list of what that damage was?
Well, it's been out there on the website. If you go to the,
I don't have, there's no soffit damage, but my house was listed, ours was listed as it's not even being on the street. So I have a problem believing that they would have looked at that damage.
I can check and see if it's on it.